Hello and welcome to CloudFolks HUB. My name is Bhavesh Atara. Now we are going to discuss about Kubernetes architecture. Here we are going to discuss about most important components of Kubernetes, and we are also going to discuss about how it is going to run on-premises versus EKS. This point is most important point. I want you to understand this point step by step. That's why we are going to divide this particular topic into the two parts. This video is a part 1 of Kubernetes architecture, on-premises versus EKS. So let's start. In this particular part 1, we are going to discuss about control plane, worker node, and pods and containers. I'm going to start with control plane. What is control plane? The control plane is a brain of Kubernetes. It makes all the decisions where to run pods, how many replicas, when to restart, and how to scale. I know that you guys are not aware about pods. Now let me give you a brief introduction about pods. Pods are basically smallest units in Kubernetes which is actually going to run your container. In one pod you may have multiple containers running. Right now you can say that pods is like containers. Okay. So if I'm going to talk about control plane makes all the decisions about pods. Where to run pods. You may have multiple servers. So control plane is going to decide in which particular container host you want to run this particular pods, how many replicas of pods you want, when to restart your pods. Everything will be decided by control plane. Now here I have this particular picture. Let's say that you want to set up your Kubernetes infrastructure on premises. The first thing is you have to set up control plane. Now control plane contain all these components. So how you are going to start this entire process? First of all, you have to set up one machine. It can be virtual machine, it can be physical machine. Then you have to install required operating system. Let's say that I am going to install Linux. Then you need to install all these components of Kubernetes control plane. Once you install all these components, this particular server will be works like a control plane. So you have to install all these components step by step. So let's discuss about all the components. You install and manage all control plane components, like you are responsible to manage this because you want to set up your Kubernetes on premises. The first component we have is API server. It is main entry point for the commands. You know, if you want to manage your Kubernetes environment, you have to use command line utility. Kubernetes command line utility is known as kubectl, or some people also call it kubectl. So you can manage entire control plane using this command line utility known as kubectl, and kubectl is actually going to communicate with the control plane through the API server. There is one another component of control plane known as scheduler. Decide which node runs which pod. As you know that we are running our containers inside pod, and pod is going to run inside worker node. So scheduler is actually responsible to decide which pods is going to run on which particular worker node. Then we have control manager, keeps the cluster in desired state. We have all the components of the cluster is in running state, will be decided by the controller manager. Then we have one etcd. It is a kind of database which is actually going to store cluster state. So all these components we are going to install into the one particular physical machine or virtual machine. We call it control plane. Now, if you have your on-premises infrastructure, you handle high availability of control plane. You are responsible to upgrade your control plane, patching and backups. All these are actually responsibility of Kubernetes administrator. But here we have one good advantage of using AWS EKS. When we are going to use EKS, we are going to get same control plane, we are going to get all these components as well, but AWS runs entire control plane for you. It is multi-AZ, secure and auto scale. So we are not responsible for scaling. We are not responsible for high availability. AWS is actually going to provide us ready to use or manage control plane to us when we are using EKS. You don't worry about server or etcd reliability because AWS is going to manage all of this. Now here, what we can say that advantages of EKS: no operational headache. AWS guarantees HA and security of your control plane, right? So, the main complexity of Kubernetes is to set up control plane. Now, when we are using EKS, this portion is totally removed. Now, let's talk about another component of Kubernetes. We call it worker nodes. Definition: worker nodes are the machine where your application container actually runs. Control plane is actually managing worker nodes and pods running inside worker nodes. We are not going to run any pods or container inside control plane. So, we are running our pods inside worker nodes. Control plane is just going to manage all these worker nodes and pods running inside this worker nodes. So actually our containers are running inside the worker nodes. Now in the on-premises infrastructure, these are my worker nodes and you provide and manage servers. So you have to set up servers. Let's say that if I want to set up my on-premise infrastructure, I have to set up one server, which is actually my control plane. Then I have to set up multiple other servers, which is actually my worker nodes. Here I have to install Linux operating system. Then I have to install some components of worker nodes. Then I have to connect all these worker nodes with my control plane. Right. So this is how we are going to set up entire Kubernetes cluster. You must install kubelet, kubeproxy, container runtime inside the worker node. You manage patching, scaling, health check. See, we are going to install, we are responsible to install all these components. We are also going to manage all these worker nodes. We have to maintain a routine process of patching, scaling, health check, everything. If we have this entire infrastructure on premises. But what if I'm going to use EKS?
Sorry to interrupt you. I know you guys are enjoying our video a lot because our final ultimate goal is Solution Architect Certification Exam. To reach the destination, we required full videos. Path number 1, our 6-in-1 program. Our 6-in-1 program include all prerequisite skills which is needed as a cloud engineer. It include 24/7 support, lifetime update, section-wise practice test, full course practice test with tips and tricks by Bhavesh Atara, how to do exam preparation course, weekly lifetime live session with Bhavesh Atara and 6 AWS project with documents. Path number 2, you can enroll by paying 499 and get Hindi and English, both the languages, videos of AWS. The choice is yours how to create your success story by choosing best one. Best of luck. Thank you.